all signs point to a positive experience going through Marketplace. Customers like Marketplace as well because not only can this impact their overall commits and burn down their commits, but it's a convenience for their end customers as well. So, for example, when we at a prior company we were selling to customers, the first question we would ask them is, "How much do you want?" The second question is, "Which cloud are you on, and do you have any spend commitments?" And usually their eyes would light up. Most of the companies I've spoken with, PagerDuty, HashiCorp, GitLab, ServiceNow, New Relic, Marketplace, after AI, which is their top 1, 2, and 3 priority, Marketplace is actually a top 5 priority because they recognize that this is a new way that their customers want to buy. So they're going to build some sort of competence here, whether it's a team that can transact via the Marketplace and do private offers, or an actual full deal desk end-to-end process. The hyperscalers themselves understand the value, they're promoting the value. Like, for example, this is something that Ruba shared with us on stage, 50% faster close rate and 5x richer. I'm probably sure anecdotally, I have examples that are 2, 3, 4, 5 times better than this. So this is definitely within the realm of reason.
Learn how to master cloud marketplaces in just 5 weeks with our cohort course. Accelerate your growth by tapping into the $300+ billion cloud spend that enterprises have committed to AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. Discover the future of go-to-market with Roman. During 10 weekly sessions, you'll learn how to leverage this fast-growing channel and network with top industry experts and partnership leaders. We will dive into marketplace strategies, internal buy-in, building relationships with the cloud, and mastering co-sell. Join our upcoming cohort.
I'm really excited. Nima Badiey, one of the opinion leaders and probably most experienced people in partnerships and cloud marketplaces. He's been in Google, Pivotal Software before, Global VP Alliances in GitLab, and currently he is in NVIDIA, Strategic Enterprise Partnerships. I shared with you this 3-part article that he authored with a few others on cloud marketplaces. I would highly recommend you to read it. Today, we're going to be talking about how do you pitch and explain value of cloud marketplaces to your CEO, CRO, and so on. I think Nima has so much practical first-hand experience. I'm really excited to hear your thoughts.
Marketplaces became an important part of the overall product portfolio, especially when it came to partnerships. So Pivotal, we ended up building our own marketplace, mainly as a discovery and distribution mechanism for things that could run on top of the Pivotal Cloud Foundry platform. But when I shifted over to Google, they had a legit true marketplace. And it was the early days where Google was trying to monetize the marketplace and actually use it as a procurement vehicle, as a transaction vehicle. So it was great to be able to operate in that environment where you're kind of building the boat as you're sailing down the stream. And I not only had a product in the Google Marketplace, but I had a hand in at least creating, modifying, and kind of cajoling the powers to be, and to make sure that the marketplace could do the things that we wanted it to do. And then when I shifted over to GitLab, we became a fully legitimate customer of multiple marketplaces, and then started to think seriously about how do I scale this, and more importantly, what are the systems and tools that will allow me to maximize my utility of this, and what are some of the unfortunate and unexpected headwinds that we run into when you're trying to bring a service like a marketplace at parity with a traditional direct selling organization. We closed 2023 doing about $15 billion worth of transactions through the main marketplaces, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Oracle, and a few of the 2 CSPs, including the distributors. That's going to grow to about $100 billion by 2027. And that's a phenomenal growth rate to take advantage of. So marketplaces as a business construct, as a value-added service provided by the CSPs, is definitely here to stay. And basically, if you fast forward the clock a little bit, the thesis here is that in the next couple of years, every single software seller is going to have to know how to win with the cloud, because that is really where your customers are going. So if you want to use a sporting analogy, you're going to skate to the puck, not where the puck is. And that's probably the most lucid argument I have heard about aligning marketplaces with the cloud providers, with your selling organization, to better prepare yourself for what your customers are going to need over the course of the next few years. But let's talk about why Why now, and what's the value of the marketplace? Well, the first and foremost is there's two motions that are really driving a lot of this. The first is there's a wholesale migration of application services workloads that are going to the cloud. There's a lot of different reasons for it. There's either IT simplification, might be spend consolidation or IT consolidation. It might just be that after COVID occurred, it was very hard for us to get employees to come into the office, let alone the data center, to push a button. How much better is it to just outsource that entire business? And then the fourth might be that the CSPs have now progressed have advanced so much in terms of their capabilities that they are truly a programmable cloud. So customers no longer want just a machine and an image. They actually want programmable services via APIs. So back of the napkin calculation, roughly about 30% of all non-legacy workloads are running on the clouds right now, and almost half or more of all new applications being developed are going to be developed cloud natively, which means they're going to go on the cloud. They're not going to be run in the local data center. So that, in effect, has actually shifted the center of gravity to the cloud, especially the hyperscalers. And if you just do a quick numbers crunching, I think I ran this a couple of months ago. Amazon at the time was at an $85 billion run rate with $105 billion commit backlog. That means they have over a year and change worth of customer demand as yet unfulfilled. Extrapolate that for 2024 across the three large hyperscalers, and you're looking at a $300 billion run rate with somewhere north of a $400 billion commit backlog. And now we're talking real money. And this data gravity, this spending gravity, this kind of cloud gravity has made it very attractive for customers and partners alike to actually have a positive book of business with the hyperscalers and use marketplace as that mechanism. Marketplace is important because it gives you access to the customer budgets. It gives you access and ability to do co-sell. It drives procurement efficiency. The access to budget is really important. This is kind of like having access to Amazon Prime. Wouldn't it be great if I do all my software IT spending using my Amazon Prime account, just like I do my Google Marketplace account or my Microsoft Azure Marketplace account? Yes, that's actually happening. And I've seen it where customers are buying third-party software for their own IT departments. They say, look, if I've already got a commit with AWS, why don't I just buy this through the marketplace? It counts against my burn down, and now I don't have to go and finagle or wrangle permission from the CFO. It's already on a spend contract. I can buy as much as I want. And it's kind of like having your parents' credit card. It's it's easier to spend money that way, right? In terms of procurement efficiency, this is probably the one that rubs a lot of the channel partners the wrong way. The cloud providers have been reducing the cost, the fees from like 20% down to, I think the lowest I've ever seen is 1.5%. So it is now as cheap as going, if not even cheaper than operating direct. And certainly from a traditional channel perspective, when you're paying 5 to 30%, it's a lot easier to go. But and I'll kind of get into this other slides. You're comparing apples to oranges. So it's not reseller for reseller. It's a marketplace versus a reseller. For their part, the cloud providers themselves have actually realized there's a benefit to behaving in a certain kind of quasi reseller fashion. So they have put in incentive structures for their own sellers to introduce and sell through third-party services. Now, they don't act as resellers. They're not actively hunting new customers for you, but as a matter of convenience, if they can throw a couple of ISVs into the big PO into the mix when a customer is buying something and they hit their commit number, great. That's what they really want to see. And this is happening because in addition to the partner development managers, PDMs that the cloud providers have for their largest customers and partners and ISVs, they've started adding this new persona of a PSM, a partner sales manager, which acts as an overlay. So if the PDM is responsible for the relationship, you have a PSM who's really responsible for the sell-through and the volumetric traffic. And so they do a lot of the account mapping and kind of introducing account leads to each other. And believe it or not, that's a full-time job. And then the analysts themselves have also taken notice. And for example, Sierra did a quick study on AWS last year, and they were able to come up with a fairly substantial ROI on going to the marketplace. So all signs point to a positive experience going through marketplace. Customer commit and burn down. So the customers like marketplace as well, because not only can this impact their overall commits and burn down their commits, but it's a convenience for their end customers as well. So for example, when we at a prior company, we were selling to customers. The first question we would ask them is, how much do you want? The second question is, which cloud are you on? And do you have any spend commitments? And usually their eyes would light up. And if we did that, it also meant that they were less likely to negotiate hard on discounts. They were more likely to take either the list price or a smaller, shallower discount, because they were going against an existing PO. They didn't have to go and negotiate against an unexisting pool of money. Most of the companies I've spoken with, PagerDuty, HashiCorp, GitLab, ServiceNow, New Relic, Marketplace, after AI, which is their top 1, 2, and 3 priority, Marketplace is actually a top 5 priority, because they recognize that this is a new way that their customers want to buy. So they're going to build some sort of competence here, whether it's a team that can transact through the marketplace and do private offers, or an actual full deal desk end-to-end process. And for their part, the cloud partners, the hyperscalers themselves, have been investing pretty heavily in people and technology and processes and programs around this. And I think you'll notice, like, for example, Google Cloud, Stephen Orban, who's very famous at AWS, moved and transitioned into Google Cloud to help them build out that competence. And that you're seeing a lot more of these very public personas being kind of elevated at the cloud providers. Like, for example, Ruba Borna had a very significant stage presence at Amazon reInvent. Kevin Chaprani had a very significant stage presence at Google Cloud Next. And all of this, wrap it up, is really based on kind of what's the value. In the hyperscalers themselves understand the value, they're promoting the value. Like, for example, this is something that Ruba shared with us on stage, in that they see the value of the marketplace, and they're working very diligently to make the marketplace procurement experience, the discovery, deployment, and procurement, something that's really compelling to a lot of ISVs and a lot of partners. These are the AWS numbers, 50% faster close rate and 5x richer. I'm probably sure anecdotally I have examples that are 2, 3, 4, 5 times better than this. So this is definitely within the realm of reason. All this said, this is great. We'd love marketplaces, but it's not all sunshine and roses. And I want to be candid about some of the challenges and some of the headwinds you're going to run into. The first is, while COVID did accelerate a lot of migration, we just want to be cognizant of the fact that COVID itself and the impact of the kind of slowing economy last year, it posed a challenge for all of us. We saw it in a variety of different ways. Either customers were buying less, or they were pushing out major purchases, or we had friction internally. For example, when your sales reps are challenged, or it's a difficult selling environment, they tend to put their arms around their accounts and be a little bit less open, a little bit less transactional, a little bit less transparent. We saw that as well. We saw some bad behavior that we didn't necessarily like. It wasn't very marketplace friendly. The second bullet is that the majority, the thesis that we had going into it was, great, this is, if you build a marketplace, all these new customers, it's kind of like the field of dreams, you'll have all these new customers coming out of the cornfield. That was actually not the case. We found marketplaces to be a lot more productive for renewals businesses, meaning that as we came in to kind of renew the business with the customer, they were pretty open to the idea of, let me just renew on marketplace. It's just easy for me. It goes against an existing spend. It significantly reduced the friction for renewals, but it wasn't new business. And I think this is a particular challenge that I ran into personally with a CRO who was attributing an equivalence between marketplaces and resellers. Whereas resellers, you can give them a lot of points and say, go find me some new business in countries and verticals that I don't operate in. That's not what a marketplace is for. Marketplace is really more of a customer convenience for transactional efficiency. The third, and this is probably the most important, is this better than anyone, and you're the only one who is able to solve it, is your organizational structure in sales and your C-suite and how you're set up, and the incentives that you have for your sellers truly impact your overall success. Nothing more than this, right? This is both a delighter and a dissatisfier. If your organization is not set up to work with marketplaces, if your sellers aren't compensated, aren't incentivized to be able to transact in marketplaces, I think it's going to be particularly challenging for you to be successful here. C-suite and CRO buying are an absolute must. If your CRO doesn't understand the value of a marketplace, doesn't understand that their route to customers is comprised of a portfolio of paths. there's the direct path, there's the reseller path, there's the marketplace path. If they don't understand that and they don't know how to balance that equation, you're always going to be the redheaded stepchild.